Hello, and welcome to Introduction to 2SLGBTQIA+ terminology. This video is brought to you by the Rainbow Diversity Institute, a company that does education on equity, diversity, and inclusion topics like this and many others. You can learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. So today's video is going to provide a brief overview of pronouns, so what they are and how to use them, and we're going to include some tips for ways that you can be more gender inclusive through your use of pronouns, starting right after this video. So let's begin with talking a little bit about what pronouns are. So pronouns are words that we use in place of a noun. We use pronouns every day to refer to people. So though you may have heard of pronouns, especially recently, being talked about in relation to the 2S LGBTQIA+ community or in relation to trans inclusion, pronouns are not unique to the queer and trans community, but they are very important to the 2S LGBTQIA+ community and to queer and trans inclusion because they signify a recognition of someone's gender identity and or expression when it's used accurately. And when pronouns are not being used accurately, they can be very damaging and harmful. And so it's really important that you're showing up for this learning today and also recognizing the significance of pronouns to the 2S LGBTQIA+ community and inclusion. So I've given a few examples here of different pronouns, probably ones that you're very familiar with. So I've chosen the most popular here. So we have he, him, his, she, her, hers, and they, them, theirs. So these are just some examples of the most commonly used pronouns, he, she, and they, and how you can conjugate them to the possessive and into a sentence. So for example, when you're using a masculine pronoun like he, you might say he left his bag, her dog is coming with her. And then for a gender neutral pronoun, we have here, they left their phone at home. So if somebody uses gender neutral pronouns, they might not use they, them pronouns in particular because there are lots of different gender neutral pronouns that someone might use. But they and them is the most commonly used gender neutral pronoun. And so it's a helpful one to explore here. So when someone uses they and them pronouns, it means that you're using what we would typically think of as the either plural kind of third person, they, them, theirs, or what is also the singular third person, they, them, theirs. So we're very used to using this pronoun in sentences. It just sometimes can be difficult for people to wrap their minds around using it in the singular sense, though we often actually do use it in the singular sense culturally. So for example, when we don't know the gender of somebody, we will use a gender neutral pronoun like they and them in place of a gendered pronoun to refer to them. So if somebody leaves their phone behind at an event and we don't know whose phone it is, we'll say someone left their phone here. Or the pizza delivery person was just here, I think they've left. So we are actually quite capable of, and it is grammatically correct to use gender neutral they and them pronouns in the singular sense. It just takes a bit of practice for folks to wrap their heads around using this when they know the person that they're referring to. So some tips for how you can use pronouns to be more gender inclusive. So one of the things you can do is add pronouns to your email signature. This helps to signify to folks that you have a recognition of pronouns and that you understand their significance and importance. And you're normalizing the practice of sharing pronouns and asking for pronouns and not just assuming what someone's pronouns are. Similarly, this is true when you introduce yourself and your pronouns when you meet new people and ask for other people's pronouns too. You can use gender neutral pronouns when you're unsure or if you haven't been informed of someone's gender identity or what pronouns they use. You can avoid using gendered prefixes in emails, letters, or other correspondence, so not using Miss or Mr., ma'am or sir, for example. When writing stories, examples, or cases, you can use gender neutral characters and language. Refrain from using sir, madam, and other gendered labels when referring to people. And you can also use gender neutral terms when you're referring to groups of people. So instead of saying things like, hey guys, all right ladies, or welcome ladies and gentlemen, replace those terms with things like folks, y'all, everyone, team, or any other relevant and gender neutral term that you could use for your particular context. Another important thing to do that's not listed here is that if you are trying to get more familiar and more comfortable using gender neutral pronouns in the singular sense, you can just practice using them at home away from the people whose pronouns you're using, so that you get a really good sense of how to use those pronouns and reduce some of the impact onto trans and queer and non-binary folks whose pronouns you might be practicing. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video about pronouns and 2S LGBTQIA+ inclusion. You can find more videos like this and more information about Rainbow Diversity Institute at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca.